Heather, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Oh, I want to dive right in here. We're going to cover a lot. I know we've had the chance to have some good conversations leading up to this, so I'm excited to kind of pull some of that out in this format here. But the question that I have for you is, as it pertains to your work right now, what is the mission, would you say, that you're on currently?
Well, I think the mission of healing patients, giving them back their lives, their dignity, um, helping facilities, providers, and working collaboratively with the entire healthcare team to get that patient healed is my mission. Uh, just helping everybody all around.
So yeah, tell me a little bit more about that. Obviously, we work for the same company, so don't need to make it weird and pretend like I don't know. But for the people out there who are maybe just tuning in, who is it that you actually work for, and what is it that we do, or what is it that you do?
So we heal patients that have chronic wounds, um, right at their home, wherever that may be. We go directly to their doorstep, to long-term care if they're in assisted living facilities, skilled nursing facilities, and we take that burden off of them for traveling. If they cannot get out of where they are or they're bedridden, we come straight to them and we heal them bedside. So it's very valuable. It's very important for us to come in there and provide this service of mobile wound care for their chronic wounds.
Now, what I've found is that there are certain areas of the country where mobile wound care is a big topic. It's very well known. Every mother, brother, sister, father, everyone's heard of it. But there's
Yeah.
also so many areas of the country where it's like a completely foreign concept. And I'm like, wait, what? You guys do,
Hmm.
mobile, what is that? Now, in your
Right.
market in New York, all right, so I know you're based in Albany and obviously those surrounding areas. Are you finding that your other healthcare professionals like home health companies, skilled nursing facilities, maybe other doctors' offices, or even the patients that suffer from chronic wounds, are you finding that they're aware of this type of service, or is this something that's a little bit foreign to them?
I do think that it's something that is a little bit foreign to them. Um, and, that is good and that is bad because a lot of times people are afraid of change. They don't know how things are going to work. But the bright side is when they are educated on who we are and what we do, it's such a blessing. They appreciate it. They love to partner with us. They love the collaboration. But I do find that it is not as, there's not much awareness here as, say, other parts of the country.
So, how do you address that? I mean, I know that's your primary role in building awareness, but what are you doing, or what is your approach, I suppose, to
Yeah.
helping as many patients, families, healthcare providers, and everyone around you and in New York become aware of what we're able to do and how we heal patients with chronic wounds?
Right. My approach is just getting out in front of as many eyes as I can get out there. Being in the community, just bringing awareness to anyone, anywhere I am. If somebody stops and asks me if we're in uniform or we're at an event, um, I'm telling everybody that walks by because chronic wounds are so prevalent. And oftentimes somebody said, oh my goodness, my family member, my friend, or I know this one who needs help and who would greatly benefit from your services. Um, and then also getting out there to our referral sources who I love so dearly, stopping in, doing in services. They greatly appreciate that. They are educated on exactly what we do and how we help them. Um, just providing that care. We all have the same mission. We all want the same outcome. and, working with facilities, home health agencies, and helping them with their value based care, staff efficiency, getting these patients healed. But yeah, just getting out there as much as I can, popping in, stopping in, doing events, in
I know,
services.
and it's tough because you're only one person. You want to be everywhere and anywhere
Yeah,
all at the same time.
yeah,
And and yeah, largely, let me see, we're doing this across the 22 states that we're in now and growing, but it seems like the approach really is to go where the patients already are or already receiving services, right? So again, your home health, your skilled nursing facilities, assisted livings, wound care centers. I mean, there's just so many different avenues of
right,
answer to answer the question, who's already working with my patient being, as someone who's a bit elderly, they have a hard time getting out of the house, and they have a chronic wound
right.
that just isn't healing. So how do we get in front of those folks and make them aware? Because there's so many benefits to partnering with us. It's like we're not in competition with any of them. You said something
Right.
really important, which was, we all want the same thing
Hmm.
for our patients, right? And
Right.
that's for, and that's for them to heal. Now, I think a really good thing to pull out of this, and the discussions that you're having with your referral sources and your partners there, is what are the main value points to them, right? Your home healths and your sniffs and so forth in partnering with us.
Right. I mean, the value we bring to having a partnership is, like I said before, we're an extension. We're an extension of care that just helps get that wound healed. It feels like a no brainer. Let us come in, let us help what you are already doing. And why not? If there's a modality that can add just a little something extra, and in 3, 4, maybe longer, 10 weeks, we get your patient, resident healed, and the outcome is so wonderful, giving them, you know, their pain is gone. They can, like I said, have their dignity. Um, I think that value of having that patient heal, helping with staff efficiency, with cost, that's also another added value.
Yeah. No, I think that there's a number of things, right? So,
Hmm.
so the cost, the speed at which we could heal these wounds, and the interesting thing, right, is that how many of these home healths have you gone to and they said, "Oh my goodness, I've had Mrs. Jones on our caseload for the past
Right,
3 years, and we've been
right.
sending a nurse there." Right. And what's, as we start to have these conversations with them and really understand the model of home health, and, it's actually very expensive for
Hmm.
home health companies to continue to provide ongoing care, like the nursing care, where they're treating these wounds. And when we're
Right.
able to come in and offload one of their visits per week, right?
Hmm.
And cover the cost of the supplies, but also
Hmm.
now they free up that nurse to go somewhere else, their patient. It
Right,
really helps them in a lot of ways, in conjunction with obviously healing the patient, which is number one. But
right.
operationally and logistically, it's so valuable to these home health companies, which are chronically understaffed. Now, are you
It is.
seeing that as an issue in your market as well, where a lot of the home health companies have issues, I don't say issues,
Mhm.
challenges with nursing shortages and being able to get people out there timely for visits?
Absolutely. Um, especially prior, I was in home care and as an outreach specialist, and worked with many hospitals, discharge planners. And, there are times these patients are being discharged and they need immediate care. And it's very difficult with nursing shortage. It's hard for them. And, both sides, the patient has to be home. The nurses are overworked. There may not be time, which is also another benefit for us because we can come in immediately, within the
Right.
days, and maybe get that first visit down, for that week. And it gives the home health agency nurses some time as well. If they can accept a patient being discharged from our help as well, that's very valuable.
So your background was in home health and home care, kind of getting out into the community and working with your referral sources. I guess, what do we need to know about Heather Jablonski? I'm assuming I'm saying that correctly. I'm going out on a limb here, but what do we need to know about you, the person, and the work that you've done in the past that
Mhm.
kind of, if you can somehow correlate that with like the mission, the path that you're on now?
Sure. So I found my calling, I think, when I became an outreach specialist for the home care industry. And I really adore building relationships, helping hospitals, the social workers, helping them and the patients together. Um, it's what I love the most. I like to make sure it's a well-run machine and everybody is happy. I think leaving the industry for a bit, I really missed being out in the community. I missed the relationships, building the relationships. Um, then I found this position with Rebirth Advanced, and I really, really believed in what we do and the service and the product, and it kind of just all came together. I'm back out there in the community with my referral sources, helping patients, which, that's the best. That is just to know that you have helped somebody. It's just, that saying, if you love your job, if you love your work, you're never going to work a day in your life. Not everybody
Right.
finds it, but I really do feel like that. I love what I do. I love, you know, making the connections to help all involved.
Yeah. And it's such a long-term game I've found in the senior care industry, and
Yeah.
whether you're working for a home health, a home care, you're working for a doctor's office, or a
Hmm.
mobile wound care company like we do, the relationships are are everything. That is our
Right.
entire business, so to speak.
Hmm.
And sometimes it doesn't really feel like work. Like, yes, we're out there
Right.
with the North Star of how many patients are we going to help,
Hmm.
but we get to go out there and have conversations with nursing directors and administrators for different buildings, and it's fun. I mean, there's a lot of different networking events that we can
Yeah.
go to. But what I'm starting to see, especially down here in Virginia, is that there are more and more mobile wound care companies that are popping up.
Hmm.
And there are a lot of trends that, throughout the years in healthcare specifically, where you look back so many years, and like home health was like the big industry for people to get into. There was a lot of monetary opportunity there. So, 1,000 of these home health popped up. I mean, you could see that across every market. And then over time, there are obviously the big players that did really well, and you've got, the smaller ones.
Hmm.
But over time, right, I think that Medicare, and from an administrative purpose, they started to look at the economics of this, like anything else, and the payment models have changed drastically, more toward value-based care. And the ones that are winning, continuing to win in home health now, were the ones that were doing things very well, right? Actually providing good care. It wasn't just, let's do as many, because it used to be a fee for service model. Let's do as many visits as possible and keep
Hmm.
these patients on service for 15 years and just keep collecting a paycheck from Medicare. no longer an option with the way that Medicare, home health companies bill Medicare, but really shifting toward value as opposed to volume of service.
Right.
And so the reason I bring this up is because I think we're in a little bit of a trend, or we're starting to see mobile wound care as a big opportunity for people
Hmm.
to get into the space. And the ones that are going to succeed and continue to succeed 5, 10, 15 years from now, particularly as Medicare really takes a hard look at the financials of this and maybe payment models change throughout the years, are the ones that are doing things correctly now. We're providing value. We're not trying to keep patients on service. We're not applying grafts inappropriately to
Right.
patients that wouldn't actually benefit from them. And so we have a
Yeah.
really solid foundation there. And so
Hmm.
my question to you is, what is it about Rebirth and the work that you're doing and the feeling that you get that has you believe we're going to be sitting at the top, not just next year, but like 15 years from now potentially?
Definitely. It's just the reputation of Rebirth and how we operate. Like you had said, we follow guidelines. We're not going to be one of those companies who, are just doing the wrong thing, and doing the right thing in regards to Medicare, in regards to, you know, making sure this patient is appropriate. That is why we're going to stay at the top, because we are, um our mission to just not only heal the patient and get things done that way. I think just honesty, the trust, that trust is a huge part of this. And I feel like when patients trust who we are, what we're doing, when our partners trust us, that's where it all falls into place. And there can't be trust if we're not doing it the proper way.
What are you doing in your market specifically to build and maintain that trust?
I think it's sometimes natural. You get out there and you start letting people know who you are. Sometimes you can see through people, companies, when there's, something not right going on. So I think just getting out there and, you know, letting them know who we are, what we do. Um, and once they have us come on board with them, that's when they see. That's when they see how we work, what we do, the outcomes we provide, the strict, regimen in the beginning of accepting a patient. We need those accurate documents, measurements, notes. Like, we're following the rules. And once they take us on and they see that, that builds trust. And then it's only it it falls into place after you work with so many partners and you have so many patients. It's just, it's there in plain sight.
Yeah. Yeah, what I found too is that, especially when it's a new relationship, that it starts from that very first interaction that you have, right? So you
Yeah.
walk in, can you command the room? Are you confident? Do you
Hmm.
actually believe in what you're
Right.
selling, right? Right. And
Yes,
so if you can
yes,
go
that's
in,
good.
right, and it just kind of oozes out of you. Okay,
Hmm.
so they're going out on a limb. Yeah, there's a little bit of trust, there's a little bit of rapport, right?
Hmm.
Takes you to that next step. Great, you secure your in service, you've done a number of
Yeah.
these, right? And you're able to provide really solid information, talking about the case
Hmm.
studies, understand their workflow and the challenges that they're experiencing. Even though we know what those things are, they need to voice that to us, because really what they're doing is voicing that to themselves. They're like, oh yeah, actually we do have a
Yeah.
number of patients and we are having these
Right.
challenges.
Right.
And then
And
still it's going to be
sometimes, not to cut you off,
no, no,
but
good.
I feel like in many people's mind, it's a too good to be true scenario, right?
Sure.
And then, once they realize, they're like, wow, this is the real deal. And like you said, believing in what we do, that is what just flows out of you and comes natural for, it's impossible for them not to see it when we believe in our product so much.
Right. And it goes well beyond believing in the product because I think anyone can go out there and slap on a graft. It's not that
Right.
difficult. I mean, I
Right.
probably
Yeah.
could do it from what I've seen. Uh, but it's the care management, it's the coordination, it's
Yeah.
the true collaboration and
Right.
communication with their team beyond that. So our providers are really the glue that holds this all together. Without
Hmm.
them and their commitment to going beyond just applying the graphs, that's one
Hmm.
of the things that stood out to me, particularly in my mark. I have a great relationship with Matt.
Yeah.
He's my PA up here. Every
Hmm.
single referral source that I work with loves him. Our
Hmm.
patients love him, and I talk to him almost daily. And the thing that I've found is that this is not uncommon. So many of our providers behave in a similar way because one, they want the patients to succeed, but two, they want to have real collaboration with our referral sources. So now, are you
Yes.
finding that in your market as well?
Definitely. So many questions I get at an in service um, is, you know, what happens to the orders? Who takes over? Who's in charge when you guys come in? And it's an absolute great question and concern. And that's, letting them know, like you said, the collaboration and our provider coming in and on a daily basis having communication with their nurse, the home health agency nurse, sending those measurements and counter notes to the nurse, the patient's chart, working with their current PCP on the orders. That is very reassuring and, you know, lets them know and be okay with having us come in, the communication, the collaboration, because like you said, that's a huge piece, that has to
Right.
happen.
Right. And we started this thread talking about trust and
Right.
how you build trust. And initially, right, we go through this process to get there, but they're still kind of reaching their hand out, going out on a limb and testing
Hmm.
us or testing the
Hmm.
process with one patient, maybe two patients, because sometimes there's a healthy skepticism where they're
Hmm.
saying this is maybe too good to be true. It sounds like
Right.
this would be amazing. But I'm
Right.
not just going to give you 15 of every single one of my wound care patients right now because we don't know. We want to see
Yeah.
how this goes. And so then when you get to that level, right, we are extending out our hand, just saying, okay, just give us that little bit
Yeah.
of trust. We'll show you. Let us show
Hmm.
you.
Yeah.
And then when we're able to, one, not only heal the patient, but they've had a 5-star, 10 out of 10 experience, not only from their interaction with us, but their patient's interaction with us, it
Yeah.
reaffirms that trust that that they gave us in the beginning and helps to solidify the relationship further. So I think
Yeah.
that's the key here. It comes
It
back to the
is.
long term game. How are we positioning ourselves for the long term? And it's doing
Right.
the little things consistently that
Yeah.
are kind of common sense.
It is, right. And there are so many pieces. It's a puzzle, and there are these puzzle pieces, and you know, we heal the patient, we have the communication, the collaboration. Um, but those little things too of going in with the provider and meeting the patient, meeting the family, that can it makes their day sometimes, the conversations of just being there for, that short time applying graft. I love going into the patient's home with our provider. I love to meet the patient. I love to meet the family. I want to hear their story. I want to follow their story, to the end. That's another nice puzzle piece that is sometimes overlooked, is having that relationship on a personal level with the patient and family.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned to me before we hit record, the big red button here, that you recently had an experience where you went out with the provider. Can you talk a little bit more about that experience specifically, what it meant to the patient, what it meant to you?
Absolutely. So I went out with our provider, Tim, who is, amazing. Patients love him. And the patient and his family were so happy to invite us in, you know, when they say, I just don't want this pain anymore. Um, they're excited. They want the wound to start healing. They're so welcoming. They want us in there, and they talk about their life, their whole story, everything. And it's like sitting down with, having tea and coffee with a friend. It's great. And then to make the relationship with the family as well, because these family members have it very tough, and they're providing care as well. And it's a relief when we come in, and I like to see that process. And I want them to feel good with us. To provide them a little bit of relief is just very important to me. I would go on every single visit. I really would. I enjoy
Yeah, if
meeting
you
the
could
patient,
duplicate
meeting the
yourself.
family, and hearing, what their thoughts are too. Yeah.
There's a word that comes to mind immediately when you describe the whole scenario, and that word is hope.
Yeah.
You know, I,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
And how many of I've seen this with so many of our patients down here in Virginia, and I'd imagine it to be true up there as well.
Mhm.
But when we're dealing, the reality is we're dealing with older adults with multiple comorbidities. So they've had diabetes, heart disease, all kinds of challenges for probably a long time.
Right.
And now they've got this wound that it might have just started out. Maybe they stepped on a crack on, like a crumb
Mhm.
on the, this can happen, right? They stepped on a crumb
Yeah.
on the floor. They didn't feel it. It irritated their skin. They have poor skin
Mhm.
integrity. Their hydration's not very good. Nutrition's not very good. Mobility is not
Yeah.
fantastic either. And now all of a sudden they've got this wound that appeared on maybe the bottom of their foot or their heel. And they're like, okay, well, I would expect this thing to just go away. I think most people start out where they just, I would expect this to just kind of go away on its own. But because their ability to heal is so impaired, particularly if they've got diabetes, it just stays around. Sometimes it gets a little bit
Yeah.
bigger, and they're like, okay, well, what do I do now?
Mhm.
It can become very painful, depending on the type of wound that it is, and there's an immense amount of frustration. And I
Right.
think after a period of time, especially if they've had home health nursing in there for months on end. Maybe they've gone to the wound clinic. Some of these wounds can be very painful, particularly if they're getting debrided.
Right.
And they say, man, like, am I just going to live with this for the rest of my life?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that scenario that you explained, you go in and they're just like a sigh of relief. Ah, there's some hope again. That's what we're doing, right? We're giving these families, giving these patients a reason to believe
Mhm.
that they can heal, which
Right.
maybe they didn't have that, or that hope had disappeared for some time because they had no evidence that the wound was
Mhm.
going to heal until
Mhm.
now.
Right. And they want simple things, they've had this wound for sometimes a year. And, our patient that we went in for, he said, all I want to do is go outside with my son, maybe throw a fishing line. It's those little things. That's many people just, they don't even think about how that anymore. It's those little things.
Yeah, I don't think we realize it's hard to have true perspective and really
Mhm.
put on wear the shoes
Yeah.
figuratively of somebody who's going through this.
Right,
But you
right.
do get perspective when you go out to these visits, you have the conversations, and you see
Mhm.
how this wound is actually impacting their lives, their livelihood,
Mhm.
and the things that the little things that we take for granted.
That's it.
And
Yeah.
to be
Yeah,
able to
that's
give
exactly it.
them the sense that maybe I'll be able to go fishing again with
Yeah.
my son, like that means
Mhm.
the world.
Yeah. That's exactly it. And the fact that there's something that could potentially provide that to patients and families is truly remarkable.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's pretty evident to me why you do what you do. The way that
Yeah.
your eyes light up and it just comes out so
Yeah.
authentically, right? There's no mask that you're wearing. I
Right.
can tell that you love what
Yeah,
you do, and there's a
I do.
reason behind why you're here
Right.
working for
Yeah.
this company.
Yeah. And I'm so happy to be with Rebirth. Yes, yeah. I manifested it.
And it's so strange. I mean, there's a million different things people can do for work these days,
Yeah.
and people talk about being passionate about their work. And I've done a number of different things. I know you've done a number of different things, but it's a unique experience when you compare your skill set, compare your passion for and pair that up with a company or a product or whatever it is that truly is making a difference in people's
Right.
lives. Like I think a lot of people are seeking purpose. They want to make a difference with the work that they do, searching for meaning. And in my
That's
experience,
exactly it.
right?
That
And
is it.
then
Yep.
yeah, when you can actually find that in the work that you're doing, I think it's pretty rare. So I do believe that we're a bit lucky in that respect. I don't know
I think so
what your
too.
thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think so too. Every day I wake up or a Sunday night where everyone, oh, it's Sunday, it's Monday morning back to work. I don't get that feeling. I get excited. I want to get out there. I want to see who we can help. It's exciting. Yeah. Very rewarding, exciting. It's like you said, I feel very lucky.
Yeah. And I know we're coming on time, and I don't want to be the reason you're
I
unable to reach as many people as you'd want to reach today.
gotta
So we
go.
do need to end this at some point, although I could sit here and chat with you all day.
I know, I know. I feel the same. Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to end with this. Is there, if somebody is watching this, and I want to get really granular here, if a patient with a wound, a chronic wound, right, or one of their family members is watching this right now, what is the message that you have for them? And what would you instruct them to do, if they're in any of the states that we serve?
Yeah. I would say if you are suffering from a chronic wound, reach out to Rebirth. We're here to help you heal. We are going to work collaboratively with your entire healthcare team. And, let us come in and provide that extension of care. It'll be very beneficial and, let us help you get your life back.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I'm going to let you go. Um,
Thank you, TJ, so much for having me. And, I want to come back.
this will be the first of many conversations.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you probably in another 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and you'll
Yeah.
have 15 more success
Yeah.
stories about all
Yeah.
these
And that's
patients that you healed.
it, it's a beautiful thing that we can get on and share these stories with everybody. And it's real life, it's true. And to just lay it on the line so casually, and let everyone know what we do, and how we can help, it's wonderful. Yeah, I think people enjoy just kind of hearing it in real time, just like this,
Yeah.
our day to day.
No, and that's so true. And I mean, my mission with this whole thing here is, we're the boots on the ground, getting with our referral sources. The question that I was trying to answer is, well, how do I reach the folks, the patients, the families that are in the fringe that maybe aren't getting services, that maybe or likely were not aware a service like this even existed? How can
Right.
we connect with those people? And
Yeah.
so,
Right.
uh, as much as I enjoy being in the spotlight, which I don't, I will say that
I never would have known.
no, I'm not doing this for those type of reasons.
No,
The
I
reason I'm up
know.
here talking, having these conversations is because I'm trying to answer that question. How can we
Right.
reach more people that would
Yeah.
maybe not have heard of us otherwise?
Right.
So
Yeah.
thank you for coming on. I appreciate the openness and honesty and just the real raw conversation. I look forward
Yes.
to having you back next time.
Thanks, TJ. I look forward to coming back and sharing more success stories.
All right. We'll see you later.
Okay. Thank you.